Welcome to Discovering the Vernon Manuscript. I'm Wendy Scase. I'm Professor of Medieval English Literature at the University of Birmingham, and I'm leader of a project at Birmingham on the Vernon Manuscript. And I call this one of the best kept secrets of West Midlands heritage and history. The aim of the project is to make the manuscript much more accessible and better known and able to be understood and enjoyed, and to try to solve some of its secrets. And today's event, I hope, is going to help us solve some of its secrets and make it better known. I'm really delighted to be joined by three guests who are going to help me make it better known. We have with us Brendan Hawthorne, Black Country poet, and illuminator Patricia Lovett, and historian Michael Wood. I'm just going to spend a few minutes introducing the Vernon Manuscript to you. I said it's one of the best kept secrets of Midlands heritage. You can see it there on the slide. It's in the Bodleian Library in Oxford, and that's where I'm looking at it. Called the Vernon because it was donated to the Bodleian by Colonel Edward Vernon about 1677, and it's been there ever since 1677 and really only ever been seen by a few scholars. What we've been trying to do is to open up access to this amazing book, and I'm just going to say a bit now about what's so unique and extraordinary about it. First of all, vital statistics. Just to give you an idea of how much it weighs, those of you who are familiar with bags of sugar, I've put the equivalent there. It's 22 kilos. So it's a hefty thing, or the equivalent of a checked-in suitcase. So pretty hefty. Originally, it would have had over 800 pages, and 700 pages still survive today. The pages are made of calf skin, and one skin would have made 2 leaves in the book. And I'm informed by those who keep livestock that probably the cattle would have been British Shorthorn. So those are British Shorthorn calves. We need to find a bit more out about this. It would be good to do DNA analysis on the vellum. We'd have to persuade the Bodleian to let us do that. To give you an idea of how big the pages are, roughly, remembering that these pictures are rather wider than they should be, a broadsheet newspaper is roughly the size of each one of the pages. And what's in it? Over 370 texts, all written in the English of the West Midlands. It's very, very extensive. If you think about the complete works of Shakespeare, round about maybe 880,000 words, well, before it lost some pages, the Vernon would have been about double that length. And one scribe pretty much copied all of it. So, our project, we're aiming to make the manuscript better known and to unravel some of the mysteries. And I'm delighted to say that phase 1 of the project was completed very recently, and we're celebrating that today with the publication of a facsimile on a DVD with full facsimile in colour of the whole manuscript, very high resolution pictures, and the full transcription of those 1,250,000 words, and a very extensive description and other items. I mentioned it was a mysterious manuscript, and some of the mysteries are the questions we'd like to answer are what was involved in making the manuscript? How did they do it? And we're going to tackle that question today by trying to reconstruct the processes of writing and decoration And that's what Patricia Lovett's going to be doing. And in fact, she's going to be finishing off a bit of the decoration that was left unfinished in the manuscript. So after 600 years, it will be complete. Why was it made and how was it used? These are actually very difficult problems. We think it must have been read aloud, and we're going to experiment with how it might have worked reading aloud today. And Brendan Hawthorne, Black Country dialect poet, is going to do some readings aloud so that and you're going to be the audience, so we're all going to try and reconstruct an event of reading this thing aloud. And it'll be the first time that this has happened in recorded history. And we're going to ask ourselves, as part of that, what did the English sound like in the Midlands 600 years ago? And we think it probably sounded something a bit like Black Country dialect today. And I'll be saying more about that later. So we're hoping to get as close as we can to hearing the manuscript come alive for us today. And finally, how does the Vernon Manuscript contribute to changing what we think about Midlands, the Midlands history, the region, the story of how the region fits into the nation? And Michael Wood's going to be reflecting on the importance of connecting with regional heritage in the ways we're doing today to change our stories about the past and ourselves. Scribes and illuminators. I mentioned there was one main scribe, and you can see his hand on these extracts. And there are several decorators, and you can see a couple of them, and possibly 3 of them there. And you can see how fine some of the decoration is. Can you see on the left quite realistic sycamore leaves, although not realistic colours, and they're growing out of vines which make the letter S. And in the middle, characteristic of another artist, a strange animal with its mouth open and the letter U coming out of it. And beneath its feet are leaves which give the illusion of turning around the vine. And then below, a long leaf which twists around the vine. So it's very fine work. And moving to the right, some columbine, aquilegia, which of course is flowering at the moment. Quite realistic, I think, those pictures of the aquilegia, and then some more folding and curling leaves. So just to give you a sort of sense of the diversity and the skill involved in painting and writing this manuscript. But what we're going to do is to try to work out how they did it. And so I'm going to hand over to Patricia Lovett, who is going to try to reconstruct this for us.
So this letter D, did it go like that, round like that, a bit like a back to front figure of 8? Or did it go like an ordinary figure of 8, round there and round there to there? Well, the arrows show points where there's a stop. And if you really enlarge it, you can see that the ink doesn't flow across. So let's get on to this one. If we stop there, where do we start? Do we start there and go round to there, do that bit, and then that bit? Or do we start here, round to here, go back on ourselves, difficult to do, and do that bit? The buttons here are the gesso, which haven't been gilded. Here, here, along there, and those bits are where the gold has been attached. So you can see it's not solid gold. It looks like solid gold on manuscripts because it's raised up from the edge of the surface, but it's not solid gold. What they did was they used gold leaf. Gold has a number of qualities. One of them is that it can be beaten into tissue thin leaves of gold. Now you can see, even though I'm holding this reasonably steadily, how the movement in this room is actually making that move, and it's very, very difficult to control gold when you're trying to gild in front of an audience. So what I would do is I'm going to be using this where it's been attached to a piece of paper. The gold is tissue thin, and as you can see, it just disappears. So the gold is applied. Can you see there? There's those buttons. Isn't it magic? Now, in medieval times, someone has calculated that leaves of gold then were, I've lost it, here we are, were 4 times as thick as the leaves of gold that we have now. And so I generally put on more than 1 layer. What I'm doing is I'm using the burnisher to really polish up the gold and to make it shine. Can you see that? I've done the middle bit. I think you can see that on that one. You see I've done this middle bit. When gold is really, really shiny, it goes darker.